Let's jump right into a question that's really at the heart of American civics. We hear the United States called a democracy all the time, right? But is that the whole picture? The words democracy and republic get tossed around, sometimes like they mean the same thing. But really understanding the difference, that's not just for a history test. It's absolutely essential to being an engaged citizen today. So let's just put the big question right out there. Is the United States a democracy? The quick answer might be yes, but the real answer, well, it's way more interesting and a whole lot more complex. It's a question that really gets to the core of how the entire American system of government was designed to work from the very beginning. So let's get into it. To really get to the bottom of this, here's our game plan. We're going to start by defining these two systems. Then we'll dig into why the US founders chose the path they did. After that, we'll look at the nuts and bolts of how the system actually works. And finally, we'll talk about the most important part, what it all means for you, the citizen. Okay, first things first, let's unpack these two big ideas. Before we can understand the American system, we have to be crystal clear about what we mean when we say democracy and constitutional republic. So let's start with a pure democracy. At its absolute core, democracy is all about one thing: majority rule. Think of it this way. If 51% of the people vote for a new law, that law passes, period. The will of the majority is the final word. It's a system that's built on direct popular opinion. Now, let's contrast that with a constitutional republic. In this system, the ultimate authority isn't what the majority wants on any given day. Nope. The ultimate authority is the rule of law, and specifically a constitution. This whole framework is designed to protect the rights of everyone, especially those in the minority, from being steamrolled. And power isn't held directly by the people, but it's given to elected representatives who have to govern according to that law. And this is where it gets really interesting. Look at how this chart lays it all out. In a democracy, the focus is majority rule. In a constitutional republic, it's the rule of law. And this difference is everything when it comes to your rights. In a pure democracy, if 51% of people decided they didn't like free speech anymore, well, that right could be gone. But in a constitutional republic, that right is considered inalienable. It's locked down, protected by the Constitution, no matter what the majority thinks. So this brings us right to the founders. They understood these differences inside and out, and their choice to create a republic wasn't an accident. It was a very deliberate, very thoughtful design based on a deep reading of history and philosophy. You have to remember, the framers were serious students of history. They were really inspired by the big ideas coming out of the Enlightenment, thinkers who were all about individual rights, government by law, and critically, the separation of powers. They were trying to figure out how to build a government that could truly represent the people without trampling on their liberty. And this right here, this was their biggest fear. They were terrified of what they called the tyranny of the majority. That's the danger that a mob, the 51%, could use its power to oppress everyone else. So what was their solution? A republic, a system specifically structured to put the brakes on that kind of runaway power. And the most powerful tool they built for that job is the Bill of Rights. These first 10 amendments to the Constitution, they aren't just suggestions, they are a literal shield. They put hard limits on what the government can do and protect your individual freedoms, like speech, religion, and a fair trial, from ever being put up to a vote. Okay, so we've covered the why. Now let's get into the how. How does this republic actually work day to day as a government of laws, not of individuals? The engine that makes this whole thing run is the separation of powers. You can see it right here. Power is split into three branches: the legislative, which is Congress, the executive, which is the president, and the judicial, the courts. But look at how they all keep each other in check. The president can veto a law from Congress, but Congress can turn around and override that veto. And the courts can declare a law unconstitutional, that's called judicial review, and just strike it down. It's this constant push and pull that creates a brilliant system of checks and balances. No one branch can become a king. And there's another layer to this protection: federalism. This is about splitting power not just side to side between branches, but also top to bottom. The national government handles big stuff, like defense, while your state government handles things closer to home, like schools. Spreading the power out like this is another crucial safeguard against too much authority ending up in one place. And just look at how slow and deliberate this system is by design. A bill becoming a law is like running an obstacle course. It has to go through committees, intense debates, and votes in both houses of Congress. And that's before it even lands on the president's desk. This whole process is meant to be thoughtful, not impulsive. So after all that theory, here's the most important question. What does all this mean for you? Because this isn't just a history lesson. It directly defines your power and your responsibility as a citizen. In today's political world, which can get pretty polarized, having this understanding is like having a compass. When you know the system is built on the rule of law and protected rights, not just winning a popularity contest, it lets you engage in a much more meaningful way, focusing on principles instead of just partisan wins. Because here's the thing, this republic is not a machine that just runs itself. It absolutely requires active, informed citizens to keep it going. You're not just a spectator. Active civic engagement is truly the lifeblood that keeps this whole thing healthy and honest. So, how can you do that? Here are 3 real, concrete things. First, engage in public discussion, but do it respectfully and know what you're talking about. Second, show up to your local town hall meetings. Make your voice heard. And third, contact your elected representatives. They literally work for you, and they need to hear what you think.
And these actions are so much more than just items on a to-do list. They are the ultimate safeguard of the entire system. An active, engaged public is the most powerful check there is against government overreach. It's how we make sure the government remembers who's boss, the people.
So, to wrap it up, while the United States has democratic elements, it is, by its very design, a constitutional republic. A government of laws, not of men, built to protect liberty. The founders gave us this incredible framework, a truly resilient design. But the final question, the one I want to leave you with, is this. How will you safeguard it? Thanks for watching.